I was part of Al-Muhajiroun, which is a prescribed organisation, also known as ISIS UK, for about say, eight plus years. Very prominent member within the organisation, and I spent a great portion of my time propagating their ideas, visiting demonstrations, giving lectures. So I spent a long time having very much taken on board kind of extremist ideas. So it is quite shocking that now I'm working with Quilliam Foundation. In my late teens, I developed a keen interest in Islam, and I had questions, and I couldn't get those answers from, elders within the community, from my local mosque. So I felt kind of in limbo. I was very dissatisfied with what was out there. On one occasion, I came out the mosque, and it was a Friday prayer, and there was a young man giving out leaflets, and this sparked my curiosity, and I took a leaflet and had a look at it, and it said that it's an obligation for Muslims to establish the Islamic State. And this really sparked my curiosity. I'd never heard of, firstly, an Islamic State. I'd never heard the term Khilafah, and it was a young man who's the same age as myself, and we started talking, and he used language that I could relate to, and he intellectualized Islam and spoke about verses and applied them to geopolitics, and suddenly Islam came alive for me. Before it was this kind of dry, abstract kind of faith. Now it actually had some kind of life to it. Whilst attending university, I also met other people from the same organisation, and I felt the need to join the organisation. I completely captivated by these ideas. There was no sort of eureka moment, as it were. It was a slow process of the ideas that I held to be true being chipped at. And I started to notice the cracks. And part of that process was kind of an intellectual and also emotional process. Intellectual in terms of I was taken under the wing of someone who was part of the organisation, had left, and he was a philosophy lecturer. And he started to sort of invite me around to his house, and we'd have conversations. And he said something to me which I'd never forget. And at the time I felt under attack. And he said to me, look, there's a whole world bigger and greater than your organisation. And at the time, I felt like I was under attack. I thought it was a hostile comment to make. I was kind of taken back. I said, what do you mean? And that really makes sense to me now, because part of the conditioning of an extremist organisation is very insular, and they present themselves to be the answer to all of man's questions. So I honestly thought that I had a holistic understanding of the problem. I had the answer, and anyone who didn't follow that was wrong. It's almost by osmosis that I was starting to become critical of the ideas that I believed to be true. From an emotional perspective, even when you work out that, hey, this organisation isn't what it's supposed to be, and that these extremist ideas aren't actually the truth, they are actually extreme, there is an emotional connection to the individuals and the organisation. What you have to understand, I completely cut off from my family, I completely cut off from my old friends. All of my sort of social network was part of this organisation, because it was almost like a cult. So a lot of sacrifice was made for this organisation. And then to turn around and say it was all wrong takes a lot of courage. Because part of the extremist mindset is self-perpetuating. The more you sacrifice, the more you have to hold on to it. I could not propagate what they're talking about and also internally know that they were not true. And over time, there was that discrepancy grew more and more, and I had to make a decision and leave the organisation. See, even when I left the organisation, it took me another 10 years or so to completely rid myself, my mind of all these extremist ideas. I was still holding on to, if you like, Islamist view of Islam, but I wasn't aware of it. I just thought it was Islam. Part of the problem is that extremists don't realise they're extreme. I guess that is a major problem. And educating them that there are more tolerant views of Islam, the more acceptable views, more pluralistic, is a process. They think that anyone that that counters their view is an extremist. And that's part of the problem, is that when we were in Muhajiroun, we thought we were learning Islam. We were not told this is an extremist version of Islam, of course. So part of the problem is not identifying what the problem is. It's the adage, you can't heal someone who doesn't realize that they're sick. You can't help an alcoholic if they don't admit that they're an alcoholic. I did not have any doubts about the faith. What actually happened was finding out alternative views actually confirmed my faith.